Antoinette. I'm Squire Antoinette, but I am a Master Seneschal. I also am an ex-War Council or ex-BOD member and current War Council representative. I have freaky large knowledge of how War Council works because I ran it for 6 years, something like that. So we're gonna open up this here document. Share. Okay. Well, where's the full screen button, Kayla? View. Full screen mode. Okay. So let's talk about War Council. We're gonna go through all of this, and at the end, if you guys have any questions, we can address them all then. So what is the War Council? So for those of you who don't know, the Belegarth War Council is our governing body of the community. It's made up at this point in time of 36 elder voting realms. Those are realms that have voting rights within the community, some of which who have had voting rights since 2001 when we became a thing, some of which who just gained voting rights in the last year or so. Each elder voting realm must have 2 War Council representatives. There's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Our War Council is where all of our rule changes, bylaw changes, and other major decisions like funding, bans, Armageddon event planning, and PR decisions are made. War Council is where the power comes from in Belegarth. Contrary to popular belief, the board of directors holds no real power over decision-making in Belegarth. All of that power sits with the War Council. When something is going awry and everyone runs to the board and goes, fix it, fix it, fix it, the board can't actually fix it. You gotta take it to the War Council. They're the ones who hold all of the power. If it isn't for the War Council, the board does nothing. We exist, or the board exists, to do paperwork and make sure we continue existing as a non-profit incorporated in the state of Idaho. So where and when does War Council happen? Our War Council happens 4 times a year. We've got 4 voting periods. One's in March, one's in June, one's in September, and one's in December. Directors vote, like for our elections, happen in September. Our budget voting happens in June. And those are the 2 major things that happen outside of rule changes and the like. Our War Council happens online, specifically on the Belegarth forums, which you can access at board.belegarth.com. If you have a problem logging in and you cannot get a hold of Dirian, you can get a hold of me or Galia, and we'll be able to help you. Everyone has access to view the Realm Leaders War Council forum, which is where voting happens, but only board members and War Council reps have access to post on that forum. So you can go in and look at what's going on, but if you're not one of those people, you can't post. If you are a realm rep for a voting or speaking realm and you don't have access to that forum, at Belegarth.com, so she can help you fix that. There's a forum thing you have to do to get access to it. So, in order to become an elder voting realm and obtain a seat on the War Council, there are some things you need to do. The first thing is to go to either the main Belegarth site or, and that's a lovely typo, the Belegarth wiki, and read the Belegarth bylaws. This is really important for any realm looking to become an elder voting realm, because our bylaws are our governing document, and they detail everything a realm needs to know to obtain speaking rights and voting rights, as well as what members need to do to maintain membership, and what members need to not do in order so that they'll lose membership. And in order to become an elder voting realm, you must first make sure that you've informed a board member that your realm exists in the first place. So if you're starting a realm today and you go, all right, I'm a realm, I need to go to a board member and let them know that we are a realm, so that a year from now, when you move to get speaking rights, and somebody asks, hey, did they let you know that they were a realm? The board can go, yeah, they let us know on such and such a day, and it's recorded in a document that we keep. So once you exist as a fledgling realm for a year, you can ask a voting realm near you to motion for your realm to obtain speaking rights. In order to obtain speaking rights, you should make sure to have a realm bylaw or constitution. That's mandatory. Ideally, it would also be great, but isn't mandatory by the bylaws, to have a realm code of conduct as well. Hopefully soon that will be mandatory, but that's a thing I have to work on getting through War Council. If you are at this point and you need assistance in creating any of those documents, please reach out and ask for help. There is no need to reinvent the wheel, because so many realms and people like me or other veterans are willing to help with that process. We've done it, we'll do it again. There's no need to painfully go through weeks of drafting realm constitutions if someone can help you with one that already exists. I would also have ready your list of realm members by fighting name only, and you need at least 10 to maintain realm status. A member is defined, or realm status is defined as having at least 10 active members who show up to practice once a month, or 10 members who show up to at least 3 inter-realm events in a year. We actually just voted to strike that for this year, given the whole pandemic thing. So realms aren't going to lose realm status because we can't do anything this year. Once you have all this information and a voting realm that's willing to sponsor you for your speaking rights, you can move forward with that process. The voting realm who is sponsoring you will motion for your speaking rights during a War Council voting period, and a discussion will take place, and then the voting realms will vote. During that discussion, you might be granted access to the Realm Leaders War Council forum to answer questions other realms might have. And then a vote will happen. I think it's a normal majority vote for speaking rights, which is just half of whoever shows up, so long as certain bylaws are adhered to, which is a different discussion. And then once you obtain speaking rights, your realm reps, 2 of you, or 2 reps, can access the Realm Leaders War Council forum and comment on topics but not vote. In order to gain voting rights, you need to be a speaking realm for at least a year. After your year as a speaking realm is over, you repeat the exact same process you did to get speaking rights to obtain voting rights. So you find a realm or a voting realm that will sponsor you. Usually the same realm sponsored you for speaking rights, sometimes not. And you move forward with an updated constitution or realm bylaws, and an up-to-date members list. It's advisable to have thought about your impact as a realm on the greater Belegarth community when you're moving towards voting rights. So things that have been asked of realms going for voting rights in the past is if your realm's held or co-held an event in your area, if you have plans to do such things in the future, if you have any vets that were transplants from other communities, and certain things like that. And then once again, your sponsoring realm will put up the motion for your voting rights, and there will be a discussion and then a vote. And I think a voting realm is still a just regular majority vote. It might be a 2/3 majority vote. I have to double check. So you have voting rights. Now what? So you have voting rights now. Awesome. Welcome to the War Council and all that being a voting realm entails, which is honestly not a whole lot when you break it down. The duties of a voting realm can be found in our bylaws in Article 15, Realms, subsection 15.6, Duties of a Voting Realm. We're going to look at those bylaws on the next page. These are the bylaws. There are 6. Each realm is only allowed 1 vote. Each realm is allowed 2 representatives to the private War Council forums. A voting realm is considered in attendance to all online votes, so long. Where'd we go? So long as bylaw 10.5.1 has been followed. Bylaw 10.5.1 is that the secretary has contacted all voting realms by their preferred method of contact, which for the most part is Facebook. If you are a voting realm, your realm reps likely have a chat that is with Sarka and Guts, our secretary and vice president, and they let you know what's going on, if you need to vote on something, if there's an emergency vote. There are a couple realms who, at least when I retired, moved to or were on email instead of Facebook, but I think it was like 2. If that, it might have only been 1. So long as Sarka, who is our current secretary, contacts the voting realms by their preferred method of contact, all voting realms are considered to be in attendance online. And then realms must always strive to be respondent. If a realm plans to abstain, they should respond as such. This makes it easier to make sure that we get everyone's opinion. If you get voting rights and you don't vote, why did you get voting rights to begin with? If you want voting rights, please use them. And then War Council representatives must contact the Vice President, that's currently Sir Guts, or Secretary, currently Squire Sarka, as immediately with changes to their representation. They're all pretty straightforward and were written as such to make sure they were easy to follow. Each realm gets 1 vote. Makes sense? You only get 1 vote in real world elections, so realms only get 1 vote in our votes. The 2 representatives is so that in case your reps, wow, that's a total typo. In case your reps are on vacation or are busy, there's a backup so you don't miss anything. That happened recently with Thunderguard. Our main rep, Trash, was on vacation. I'm our backup rep, so I made sure that we voted. If we didn't have 15.6.3, we might never achieve quorum and get anything done, which would be an issue. That's why that rule's there. Bylaw's there. If you work to get voting rights, we would very much like to see you use them. Even if it means that you abstain from something, please respond. It helps a great deal. On the other side of things, it's important to vote. If you get voting rights, if you do all the work to get there and then you use them, it's kind of pointless, and it makes like the representation of realms kind of weird if you don't use your voting rights. We like to make sure that people, the right people, have the right access, which is what the last bylaw is for. And no one can be everywhere at once, so we rely on the War Council reps to make sure that changes are made when they change reps, and we have the most up-to-date information. Because as much as we would all like to be omnipresent in every realm everywhere, it's just not possible, even with Facebook. Does anyone have any questions about War Council? Silence. Is there anything anyone wants me to go over because I talked too fast or have questions?
I'll ask a question. So what do you think we can do to help more people realize that War Council is sort of like the body that you go to get things done?
I think that we just need to keep repeating it because, I mean, you and I both have that experience. Antoinette, fix this. Anna, fix this. We can't. Take it to War Council. It's just I think because for so long we had presidents and vice presidents were also War Council reps, so they could get things done, but we changed that so our board of directors can't also be War Council reps because conflict of interest was a thing. And so I think that it'll just take time reminding people at every possible intersection that the board holds no actual power. All we do is the paperwork to make sure we still exist. If you need something done, please find a War Council representative. We're happy to tell you who your representatives are if you don't know. I think it's just going to take some time.
So how about going the other direction, taking information to the War Council to your realms?
So,
like best practices and stuff.
Okay, so like taking information like the what's going on in War Council back to your realms?
Yeah.
So
and
like
getting your realm interested in things that are happening in War Council.
So I think that has a lot to do with the individual realms and how your realms are set up to do things like that. So from my perspective, Thunderguard's always been democratic. So we always we have a private Facebook group that outsiders can't see, where we do all of our voting. So everyone who has voting rights in Thunderguard votes yes, no, or abstain, and then we take the highest, like, so if we all want to abstain from something, then our war council rep's going to abstain from that. If we want to vote no, or we want to vote in agreement of, and we've always been democratic like that. So it depends partially on how your realm is set up. And I'm pretty sure Stygia is set up pretty democratically. And so it would just be a matter of like finding the best way to communicate with everyone. So if people aren't interested, and that may be because they don't understand why it's important, and talking about like how the war council affects like the game, the rules, like the community across the board, and how realms, the way realms vote, like helps with that. So like if you guys want something pushed forward, like a change to how we address, say, some major issue in the community, that isn't currently covered by our bylaws, because there are a couple. They were a work in progress. They are always going to be. And it's important for that vote to get through. So it's important for the whole realm to be involved in that. It's just a matter of seeing like how your realm functions and what's the best way to communicate with them. So that like, because some realms are not democratic. Some realms are the realm leader has the final say and they make that decision. Most realms are pretty democratic, where the members of the realm, as defined by their constitutions, vote on the matter or like talk about the matter before a decision is made. Some realms like Numenor are set up as it's the Knights of Numenor who make all the decisions. And if you're not a Knight of Numenor, you don't get to make that decision on how they vote. So it all depends on how your realm is set up, and like who you're talking to. Because I mean, especially with your realm, there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions, and you're all very loud, because the elf are just loud. And so having that discussion might be a little bit harder than having a discussion with other people who don't have as many opinions. So that it's just a matter of like how you guys want to go about talking with your realm mates and getting them to understand why it's important, because especially new fighters, they just want to hit people with foam sticks. And the rules and bylaws aren't as important to them until they see how it affects the swinging of foam stick. If that makes sense. I don't know if that helps at all.
It does, thank you.
You are most welcome. If you have other questions specifically about like how you can help your realm, after class we can talk about some ideas that are more specific if you want. Just to make sure anyone else wants or has any questions.
So maybe I missed this in the actual presentation part, but it feels like an apt comparison to say that the War Council is a parallel to the US legislation system.
I'm Canadian, so I can't completely agree
I
to
know.
that. But Gorlock has equated it that way in the past. And I mean, areas with more realms and realms that consistently like discuss things with each other might all vote a certain way. So maybe.
Okay, solid maybe though. And then my follow-up question would be, and again, you might have answered this and I just missed it. Is there a public forum where we find the War Council discussions that happen around bylaw changes and such?
Yes. So if you go to the Belegarth forums, it's board.belegarth.com. And I will post my slideshow on my wiki page and also in the guild library when I'm done. It's board.belegarth.com, and then there's a section you have to be logged in. And if you are having problems logging in, please let me know. I can fix it. there's two War Council boards. There's the War Council General Forum, which anyone is allowed to post in, so long as you have an account and you're not a bot, because we'll delete that. And then there's the War Council, Realm Leaders War Council Forum, which is only for voting and speaking realm representatives and the board of directors. Except in very specific situations when someone who isn't a War Council rep or on the board is running Armageddon, that person is then also granted access to that forum because and so if you're not a War Council rep, you can see the Realm Leader War Council forum, so you can read what's going on, but you can't post anything. You may post in the general discussion forum if you have questions that people can answer. Otherwise, we don't use the forums except for voting. They're not very active otherwise. There's also the Belegarth Realm Leaders and Recruiters Facebook page where discussion happens sometimes, and the Belegarth official discussion page where discussion happens sometimes. Does that answer your question, Leta? Perfect. Does anyone else have any questions about War Council or the purpose of War Council or how to join War Council? I'm gonna take that silence as a no. And thank you all for coming to this very short class on War Council. If you have further questions or you're watching this recording back, please let me know if you have any questions that I can answer. You can email me at Antoinette@belegarth.com and I will answer your War Council related questions if you have them, or if you need help drafting a constitution or a code of conduct. All right.
Cool, thank you, Antoinette. I found it very informative, but I also said I had minimal knowledge. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Yes. Success.
Awesome.
All right. And then, Antoinette, would you be able to post your slideshow in the post-class discussion channel?
Yep, I can do that. I will get up on the Gen and right after that post the link where you can access it on the Google Drive.
Cool.
Can I ask, what are you guys using? Because I kind of jumped into this quickly